What I'm about to share with you isn't a straight line. It isn't a 10-step program. It isn't a before and after transformation photo. It's messier than that and more honest than that. And I hope it might be more useful than that. This is my story, and it starts, like a lot of real stories do, with a question I couldn't stop asking. Chapter 1. The Density. Back in 2006, I used to watch the people around me and feel this deep, quiet confusion sitting in my chest. I'd look at how differently people were being treated, and I'd think, how? How come they're treated so differently when their behavior doesn't really differ that much from one person to another? It felt like everyone else had been handed a rule book for how reality worked, and I was just standing outside the room, looking in through the window. I had always been sensitive, not in a delicate way, in a receiving everything kind of way. My nervous system has always been tuned to a different frequency, one that picks up on things most people walk right past. The energy in a room, the weight behind someone's words, the discomfort underneath what no one is saying out loud. Living like that for decades, while also carrying real physical pain and layers of trauma, that is a dense experience. Heavy, exhausting in ways that are hard to explain to someone who hasn't felt it. You build an internal world that is huge and vivid and alive because the outer world is often just too much to absorb without some kind of sanctuary. That question I kept asking, why are people treated differently? It wasn't just intellectual curiosity. It was personal, it was urgent, it came from somewhere that had been sitting in confusion and pain for a very long time. And then, in 2007, I found the beginning of an answer. Chapter 2. The First Spark, 2007. I watched a documentary called The Secret. Out of everything in that film, the piece that landed the deepest wasn't about money or houses or any of the things people usually talk about. It was the idea of using art to manifest. Art was already my language. It was the one place where I felt fluent. So I sat down and I drew a picture of myself singing. And right next to it, I wrote one word: Canada. I want you to sit with that for a moment because I am telling you this story from Canada as a songwriter, living inside that drawing. I didn't have the full vocabulary for what I was doing back then. I didn't understand frequency or vibrational alignment or any of the framework that would come later. But my soul knew something. My soul was already using creativity as a technology to reach forward in time and say, this, I want this. That drawing was a seed. And seeds, as it turns out, are patient. Chapter 3, The Gateway, Autumn 2023. It started with a completely ordinary moment. A family member looked at me and asked out of nowhere, "Do you believe in aliens?" I shrugged. I said, "Well, everything is possible." That open door was all they needed. That was the exact moment they introduced me to Bashar. Now, I want to be honest with you here because honesty is the whole point of this. I was careful at first. When you have spent close to 4 decades navigating trauma, you don't just swing your mind wide open to every cosmic theory that comes through. You protect your peace, you stay measured. You've been burned before by things that promised transformation and delivered disappointment. So I watched with skepticism, healthy, earned skepticism. But then I started actually testing the ideas in my daily life. Not believing them on faith, testing them like gears. Does this turn? Does that connect? And it did. Something was working. So I kept going. Chapter 4, The Teaching That Changed Everything. Bashar said a lot of things that were new to me, but there was one moment, one specific thing he said about beliefs that clicked into my heart so deeply that everything changed. He said, if there is a belief you want to release, you don't fight it, you don't suppress it, you don't demand that it disappear. You talk to it, you say, you're valid, what you're doing is valid, but I have to let you go now, and you will not die if I do. I had never heard anything like that before. The idea that a belief isn't an enemy, it's a mechanism. It thinks it is protecting you. It's terrified of being released because it believes its own survival is tied to yours. The next time I sat with plant medicine, I decided to try it. And what happened next is something I will never forget. Before this, the old heavy beliefs inside me had always talked to me without respect. Harsh, loud, relentless. But this time, I used what Bashar had given me. I validated the belief. I acknowledged what it had been doing. I gave it permission to step down. The disrespect just stopped. All of a sudden, the belief started speaking to me differently, gently, and within a short time, it just stood there. And it said, "What you've just done is the bravest thing a human can do. You're so brave, and it has been a privilege to do this with you." A belief I had been fighting for decades looked at me and said, "It has been a privilege." That is what happens when you stop treating the wounded parts of yourself as enemies. Chapter 5, The Outflow. So, what does healing look like practically? For me, it looks like hundreds of songs. It looks like vivid worlds built out of words and sound. It looks like creativity that used to be blocked, finding every crack in the wall and pouring through. When you stop spending all your energy on internal warfare, something extraordinary happens. That energy has to go somewhere. And for me, it went into making things. Healing didn't make me quiet. It made me volcanic. The sensitive nervous system that I once thought was a flaw, the one that absorbs everything, that picks up on frequencies others miss, turns out to be the exact instrument I needed to do the plant medicine work, to feel the shift in a belief, to channel pain into art, precision that it actually lands somewhere true. I'm not telling you this story because I have it all figured out. I'm telling it because in 2006, I was standing outside a window wondering why the world made no sense. And in 2007, I drew myself somewhere I hadn't been yet. And in 2023, I had a conversation with a part of myself that I thought would never show me respect, and it called me brave. Healing can look different for different people. Maybe for you it looks like therapy or movement or prayer or community. Maybe it looks like a conversation you didn't expect to have. Maybe it looks like a drawing with one word next to it. Whatever it looks like for you, I hope this story gave you permission to trust your own path. Even the weird parts, especially the weird parts. Thank you for listening.